The main thing is, firstly, what Gina says isn't anywhere close to what Rachel Zegler said regarding Trump supporters, etc. Gina Carano's post that she put, caused her to be fired by Disney was just, hey, don't demonize your neighbors.
In a swift and wild turn of events, Disney has stumbled headfirst into a vortex of controversy that refuses to loosen its grip. Gina Carano is celebrating a massive legal breakthrough, and fans are throwing around heavy accusations that the entertainment giant has been caught red-handed, playing favorites and punishing whoever threatens its delicate public image. The cherry on top of this chaotic sundae?
In Montenegro, Rachel Zegler got a social media handler. Gina Carano got fired. The Disney double standard. And today what we're looking at it, does the information coming out about Zegler impact the lawsuit that will begin to start rolling in just a few months?
Rachel Zegler, the very actress once hailed as Disney's next big star, seems to be at the heart of a scorching scandal thanks to her rumored backstage meltdown and the absolute box office catastrophe of Snow White. Some might say it.
For remaking the movie, they just got rid of the dwarfs. But they have one token dwarf amongst these magical creatures. You actually just went backwards. You actually just erased the dwarfism side of it. The disability, like we're a disability group. You just erased that whole
into this, the first villain Disney ever had. It's really getting myself into this big crown.
It's got extra musical numbers that are incredibly unnecessary that really add to that runtime. And let me go ahead and let you know that they're absolutely f***ing atrocious.
Disney deleted Someday My Prince Will Come and made a modernized feminist alternative.
All started when Gina Carano decided she wouldn't apologize anymore for her viewpoints. Others claim Rachel Zegler's dismissive jabs at fans and her bizarre commentary about the classic Snow White film ignited this entire public relations dumpster fire. Whichever side you land on, there's no denying one thing. This fiasco exposed a glaring hypocrisy. Disney booted Carano over heated social media remarks.
This is just so typical of the left. The progressives always finding a way to find their way back to doing something not progressive.
Last week was a very big week, objectively a huge week. We had quite a few announcements. It's first live action film, which is Snow White and the Evil Queen. And that's me, I'm Snow White, which is so funny.
She came out and she said, I apologize. Like I went too far, but it wasn't sincere.
But when Zegler faced a tidal wave of negativity, the House of Mouse supposedly rushed to her rescue. People are outraged, fans are demanding explanations, and the headlines are raising eyebrows everywhere. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. The avalanche of revelations and bombshell allegations is absolutely jaw-dropping.
Controversy in Snow White. The dwarves have been eliminated in the live action.
Yeah.
Now it's Snow White and the 7 magical beings.
Wait, it's 7 and the magical beings?
Yeah,
They won't even say
magical
and the 7
beings.
dwarves?
No, because they're not dwarves. For right now, that's the only jobs that are there.
Hardcore. They're petrified of some kind of backlash.
Broke out with this news, and I'm very, very, very excited and looking forward.
The meltdown is allegedly happening right now, swirling around Zegler's frustrated rants and behind-the-scenes outbursts. Meanwhile, Snow White crashed and burned at the box office, racking up astronomical losses that have critics reeling in disbelief. From rumored power plays to relentless backlash across social media, the entire drama has taken on a life of its own.
Rachel Zegler is extraordinarily woke, but she's woke in a way that's quite deranged.
I sat through the whole thing. This was really bad. It was extremely leftist on every political dimension: racial politics, sexual politics, class politics, regime politics. Its narrative was cowardly. It was just awful.
Have they ever thought about maybe like a little bit of vulnerability study, opposition research, that sort of thing, before you go and hire some Zoomer who's a lunatic?
And we're here to dissect every gritty, shocking detail. So strap yourselves in because this story has more layers than an onion, and each new layer only gets messier. Disney, Gina Carano, Rachel Zegler, Snow White. They're all pieces in a puzzle that's morphing into something bigger, wilder, and far more scandalous than anyone expected. Let's begin where it all kicked into overdrive. Gina Carano's explosive allegations against the very studio that made her a star.
Part of the first, fairy tale ever told.
Pretending like Rachel Zegler is the first of them all when she looks like Lord Farquaad in the film.
And then tossed her aside without a second thought. Gina Carano isn't holding back. Her legal fight against Disney has quickly escalated into a fiery spectacle, one that critics say could expose serious double standards in the biggest entertainment behemoth on the planet. Lawyers on Carano's side are reportedly digging into salary info, communication logs, and behind-the-scenes emails that might show how Disney decides who gets coddled and who gets kicked to the curb.
They say all you have to do to make your wish come true is let it echo, 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 echo.
Carano's stance is straightforward. She was dumped from her hit show while other stars spouting arguably more inflammatory takes remained locked into million-dollar contracts. She's painting a picture of a ruthless corporation that stomps on anyone who doesn't fit their pristine branding. And she's determined to shine a spotlight on what she views as glaring hypocrisy. According to insider chatter, Carano's legal team has already unearthed enough data to make even seasoned Hollywood executives sweat through their suits. Now that Carano's on the warpath, Disney executives seem frantic. Rumors suggest they're hustling behind closed doors, worried Carano's lawsuit could reveal how they selectively enforce policies. People on social media are devouring every clue, analyzing every leaked snippet. Some are cheering Carano for standing up to the big guys. Others blast her for fueling the flames of division. But love her or hate her, she's pushing forward without the slightest hint of backing down. But that's not even half the drama swirling around Disney. The moment Carano's claims of unfair treatment hit the public realm, accusations of Disney's bias began flooding the internet. Skeptics pointed to Rachel Zegler, someone who, by many accounts, seemed untouchable. While Carano was unceremoniously ejected for strong opinions, Zegler apparently got a personal social media caretaker to clean up her more inflammatory statements. Fans erupted, demanding to know why one star's personal beliefs resulted in a swift exit, while another star's questionable remarks barely merited a slap on the wrist. Whispers of a favorite child policy at Disney only grew louder when some fans noticed Zegler's bizarre commentary about older Disney films, especially her repeated digs at the Snow White storyline. Rather than face repercussions, she was handed prime roles and press tours, at least until the meltdown talk started spreading. Insiders whisper that Disney's corporate heads were more focused on controlling the narrative around Zegler than addressing the actual controversies. That's what Carano's team is latching onto, fueling her argument that Disney picks who it wants to protect based on brand strategy, not principle, and the next bombshell set fans ablaze. Allegedly, Rachel Zegler is now in full-blown crisis mode. Rumors are swirling that she's facing an epic meltdown behind the scenes, dealing with severe backlash from fans outraged by her remarks on the Snow White legacy. People who once praised her as the future face of Disney are turning their backs, claiming her attitude is arrogant and dismissive. Every day, new gossip surfaces about behind-the-scenes arguments, frantic meetings, and desperate attempts by Disney PR to curb the damage. One of the hottest points of contention is the actress's repeated potshots at the classic Disney tale. She labeled certain themes as old-fashioned and took swipes at the original characterization of Snow White. Fans who cherished the 1937 classic lit up social media with scorching replies, calling Zegler disrespectful, condescending, and downright rude. It quickly devolved into a brutal war of words. Then, out of nowhere, rumors popped up saying she'd been given a specialized handler to manage her tweets and direct interviews before they devolved into off-the-rails rants. While all this was unfolding, a more sinister shadow started, looming over the live-action Snow White project, its abysmal performance in theaters. People began to wonder if Zegler's meltdown and the film's catastrophic box office were connected. And as the fiasco brewed into a storm, Disney's top brass started to realize they had a genuine disaster on their hands. But her behind-the-scenes chaos was just one piece of the puzzle. Disney probably hoped that a live-action retelling of Snow White would charm audiences and generate a box office avalanche of cash. Instead, it became a cautionary tale of epic proportions. Financial analysts predicted a decent opening, but actual ticket sales made those forecasts look laughable. The movie's gross returns weren't just below expectations, they were shockingly low, prompting frantic adjustments to marketing strategies. Before the meltdown rumors took center stage, critics were already shredding Snow White for its heavy deviations from the original tale. Others slammed it for what they perceived as a lack of authenticity and the odd dynamic of certain reimagined elements. Then, as negative word of mouth spread like a wildfire, audiences began skipping the film altogether. By the time the dust settled, the Snow White fiasco was labeled a box office train wreck. One of the major talking points? The fact that controversies surrounding Rachel Zegler seemed to overshadow the film itself. Online threads were flooded with comments like, "Why would I pay to see someone who trashes the original source material?" Or, "Zegler's arrogance turned me off from the start." When fans of classic Disney flicks feel disrespected by a lead actor, it's no wonder ticket sales plunge, and the fallout kept intensifying. As if tanking revenues weren't enough, Snow White found itself mired in yet another layer of criticism: its environmental impact. Reports started circulating that the production left a monstrous carbon footprint, allegedly outpacing even some of Hollywood's biggest action flicks. Commentators seized on this, calling it the height of hypocrisy for a studio often known for championing eco-friendly causes. Suddenly, the conversation wasn't just about underwhelming box office numbers or Zegler's meltdown. People began questioning how a production that's supposed to be about a gentle fairy tale princess dwarfed the emissions of high-octane franchises. Environmental groups pounced, highlighting the gulf between Disney's family-friendly image and its real world. Industrial practices. To many fans, it felt like one more indicator that the House of Mouse had strayed far from its Magic Kingdom roots, but none of that overshadowed the personal controversies. Rachel Zegler's meltdown rumor was still pumping gasoline onto the already raging fires, and the ongoing scandal about corporate favoritism loomed. Still, none of that compared to the blowback that came next. At this point, you might be thinking it couldn't get any more jaw-dropping, but the Hollywood rumor mill refused to slow down. Jonah Platt, the son of a prominent producer tied to the project, allegedly blasted Rachel Zegler's hyper-political, public statements as a major reason the film stumbled. Fans instantly latched onto his remarks, insisting that if a producer's own family is calling out an actor, something big must be brewing behind closed doors. Industry veterans started chiming in on social media, offering theories on how a lead actor's ongoing controversies could doom a film. Many pointed fingers at Disney's inconsistent handling of high-profile controversies, swiftly firing Gina Carano for her online posts, yet seemingly insulating Rachel Zegler from real consequences for hers. Those who still held a grudge over Carano's dismissal felt vindicated, while critics of Carano rolled their eyes. Nevertheless, the narrative of double standards at Disney gained serious momentum. Some of the chatter indicated that Disney's PR team initially tried to muzzle the meltdown talk by restricting Zegler's access to live interviews. That decision reportedly backfired, with fans interpreting it as Disney's attempt to hide what was really happening. The meltdown talk got louder, fueling even more speculation that Zegler's behind-the-scenes behavior was worse than anyone realized. But as fans turned on Disney, the studio's future plans faced an even bigger hit, with Snow White falling. Flat on its face, rumors about upcoming Disney live-action remakes took center stage. Some fans brought up Tangled as the next potential adaptation, excited to see how the studio would approach a modern spin on Rapunzel's story. But once Snow White left a crater at the box office, Disney supposedly hit the brakes. Executives are reportedly reevaluating whether they should pump out more live-action reimaginings if they can't capture the timeless charm of the originals. Insiders say the meltdown fiasco that clung to Zegler throughout the Snow White press tour sent a ripple effect through the higher-ups. They're now terrified of a repeat scenario, handing a project to an actor who might become a lightning rod for bad publicity. This caution has thrown a wrench into potential casting decisions, rewriting storylines, and marketing strategies. A single meltdown from one star basically shook an entire division of Disney's multi-billion-dollar empire. To put it bluntly, Rachel Zegler's controversies have turned her from a promising poster child into a polarizing figure. Some wonder if her contract will be quietly sidelined in future endeavors. The meltdown rumor doesn't seem to be dying down, and the more people talk, the more it stings Disney's reputation. With Gina Carano's lawsuit looming overhead, the conversation about who Disney punishes and who it protects feels more relevant than ever. Yet, this wasn't the end of the uproar because Gina Carano wasn't done fighting. While Disney scrambles to deal with Zegler's meltdown, Carano has been taking full advantage of her newfound voice. Far from fading away, she's actively championing the cause of consistent and fair treatment, highlighting what she calls Disney's selective outrage. On social media, she's acknowledged the fans' support, thanking those who stood by her during her forced exit. She's also doubled down on the narrative that her lawsuit could force the studio to open up records that show how it handled and possibly protected Rachel Zegler. Carano's supporters argue that her determination shows she isn't afraid of retribution. They see her as a figure who, instead of bowing to corporate demands, sees the chance to expose hypocrisy. The irony here is striking. While Disney publicly aligned with certain social justice movements, they also appear to be enabling an actress whose own statements have alienated legions of fans. Meanwhile, Carano, once vilified, is staging a possible comeback tour in the court of public opinion. And even though the mainstream press might still paint Carano as controversial, the very same voices that once cheered on Disney are now accusing them of moral inconsistency. Critics who once slammed Carano are looking at Zegler's meltdown fiasco and raising an eyebrow, questioning whether they themselves might have been too quick to defend Disney's every move. This shift in perspective has created a bizarre dynamic where Carano stands for accountability and Zegler becomes an emblem of unchecked privilege. And as if that weren't enough, the rumor mill just keeps spinning. Some claim Carano's lawsuit has grown teeth, set to drag top executives into depositions. If that happens, the revelations could be big enough to put everything else, Zegler's meltdown, Snow White's collapse, the environmental hypocrisy, into an entirely new context, a context that might confirm Carano's claims that Disney selectively punishes stars based on internal politics. There you have it, two wildly different stars, one corporate giant, and a maelstrom of controversies that reaches staggering levels of drama. Gina Carano stands tall. Armed with a legal hammer, she fully intends to swing at a company she says plays by a rigged set of rules. Rachel Zegler, for her part, has stumbled into a meltdown rumor that's painting her as a problematic figure who refuses to stay in her lane. Meanwhile, the Snow White fiasco continues to hemorrhage money, and Disney's left scrambling to pick up the pieces of what's left of its once untouchable reputation. What we're witnessing might be a cautionary tale for the entire industry. Carano's alleged legal triumph is spotlighting every questionable move Disney's made in the last few years. Rachel Zegler's meltdown, combined with the disastrous Snow White box office performance, is turning into a symbol of how even the biggest studios can make missteps so colossal they seem almost impossible to recover from. The question now is, will Disney own up to any of these missteps, or will it double down, hoping fans get distracted and move on? Only time will tell. But one thing's for sure, this meltdown fiasco, Gina Carano's lawsuit, and the Snow White misadventure have opened a Pandora's box. Fans and critics alike are going to keep pushing for transparency, fairness, and some answers about why certain stars get destroyed by controversy while others get shielded. As a viewer, you might never look at Disney the same way again. The Magic Kingdom, it seems, is built on fragile foundations, and these storms of controversy are starting to shake it all apart. So sit back and keep your eyes peeled for the next bombshell. Because if this saga has shown us anything, it's that the biggest shocks might still be coming.